Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Dr. Annie White. Simple name. I don't even have to ask how to say it. Yes, and Dr. Annie and I are going to be talking on the topic, how to train your mind to minimize stress and maximize happiness. Oh my gosh, everybody should want to know how to do that because stress kills. Happiness is what we all aspire to be. So we're going to be giving some tips and nuggets on how you can reduce one and increase the other. So welcome, Dr. Annie.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. All right. So let me give you guys a short bio. Dr. Annie White is the author of the Comm Code, Transform Your Mind, Change Your Life. Isn't she a perfect guest? After thousands of patent visits and a decade of studying the science of the brain, she developed a revolutionary method to dramatically lower stress and anxiety. Dr. Annie has a doctorate in traditional Chinese medicine. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Chinese medicine, we're probably going to be getting into some of the Tai Chi and all those different things. I don't know, but but I know that's one way to reduce stress, and I wish I knew how to do it. All right, so Dr. Annie, so we're going to start right into our topic. So how can Chinese medicine allow us to train our brain to minimize stress?
Well, what's interesting about Chinese medicine is that it deals with the root cause of issues. I mean, it's 3,500 years of non-egoic observation on people's patterns and why things are the way they are. Because when you heal things at the root level, it's true healing. You know, we're not just tackling symptoms. We're not just masking things. And I'm not saying we don't need Western medicine. Of course we do. I think there's room for both. But the reason that Chinese medicine led me to the answers that I got on stress and how actually to heal the root cause of stress was Chinese medicine.
Okay, all right. So there's a lot there to unpack. So when you're saying Chinese medicine, are you talking about practices or are you talking about drugs?
I'm talking about practices.
Okay.
So drugs also have the potential to rewire the mind because that's one of their mechanisms. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can manually rewire your mind with exercises, just like you can build your muscles. It's not like the cells in your brain are muscles, but it's a similar transaction in your mind. And a lot of people don't know that. And it's important for me to get that information out because perhaps instead of going straight to drugs, you could try different interventions just to see how those work first.
All right, so give us some examples.
Well, so there's been a lot of studies on neuroplasticity, and that's what we're talking about here. And neuroplasticity states that every thought, action, and emotion wires the corresponding parts of your mind. It strengthens the corresponding parts of your mind. Ergo, if you are thinking more positive thoughts, your mind is going to be trained or wired to be more positive. And the alternative is also true. So after a pandemic, when people are constantly in fear, constantly in thinking negative thoughts, negatively based thoughts, the mind can get trained or wired to be more negative and more stressed. And we saw this a lot after the pandemic. And there was even research done that showed the pandemic not only exacerbated anxiety, depression, and even schizophrenia, but it was causing it as well. And this is why.
Okay. All right. So I understand. Now, when you started talking originally about Western medicine treating only the symptoms and not the root causes, I've been talking to a lot of functional medicine doctors on the show. And basically, that's what they say, that when you go to the Western doctor, and you say like last guest I had, Dr. Will Cole, he talked about someone coming in to see him for maybe a gastric problem and a headache and I don't remember the third thing, but let's just make one up. Let's say that skin condition, right? A rash or something. And they go to 3 different persons. They go to the dermatologist, and they go to the gastroenterologist, and then they go to another doctor, and each one of them are giving them different drugs. But when they go to the functional medicine doctor, the functional medicine doctor is going to look at what's causing all these 3 different things. In fact, yeah, my sister just got diagnosed with lymphatic cancer. And she's been troubling with irritable bubble
Irritable bowel syndrome, yeah.
IBS, since I can't say the word.
Sure.
IBS and lactose intolerance and all kinds of gut issues, right?
Right.
But if anybody had gone to see what the root causes of that, then maybe she wouldn't have gotten that diagnosis, right? So I understand finding out the root causes, but I'm still not getting what this Chinese medicine is all about. So,
well, first of all, yeah, that's a good question.
Audience, what you're talking about.
Well, first of all, Chinese medicine is the original functional medicine. So Chinese medicine has been around for 3,500 years. And Chinese medicine is all about, we are one system, we are one whole. What affects the other, affects the other, affects the other. You cannot have IBS without it affecting different organs, different cells, different places in your body, because we're one system. That system, the GI system, does not operate outside of other systems, does it? So it's always been one system, and Chinese medicine has always understood that. Chinese medicine knows that if you have a heart condition, it can be caused by many other imbalances in the body. And Chinese medicine, there's so many different levels. It's such a beautiful, complicated medicine, natural medicine, that, one way I like to explain it is on a physics level, on a quantum physics level. And if you look at us on a quantum level, even as humans, we are all just vibrating energy. And when that energy is in balance, i.e., we don't have symptoms, because that's what tells us our body is out of balance, right? Mm-hmm. Then we are healthy, we are happy. We don't have, pain. We don't have digestive symptoms. We don't have headaches. We don't have skin symptoms, right?
Right.
But when the body is out of balance, symptoms arise.
Okay.
So one way that Chinese medicine works is it rebalances your body. And it does that with acupuncture. It does that with herbs. It does it with nutrition. It does it with a myriad of things. I mean, you touched on Tai Chi earlier and Qigong. Right. Sometimes my brain works faster than my mouth. So
we're both having problems saying words.
Our brains are going faster than our mouths are. But yeah, so I like that the Western world has picked up this whole functional medicine sort of paradigm, because it's true. Nothing operates outside of itself in an organism. We are one operating organism. So it all makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Okay. So that makes sense, because I'm trying to zoom into what exactly is Chinese medicine. So, but you touched on a couple of things. You're right. The herbs, acupuncture. I just had an AO scan. Do you know what that is?
A what scan?
An AO scan.
No, what is that?
Okay. It's some new thing that it uses the frequency. It's a frequency machine that tells you what's going on in your body based on the frequency. And one of the things that it said to me is that I should try acupuncture. So it suggested acupuncture as one of the remedies for one of my frequencies that was out of balance. So yeah, I've always wanted to try acupuncture, but I've never actually done it. But I know that when people talk about Chinese medicine, you're right. That's where they're going into. They're going into acupuncture. They're going into maybe movements as far as Tai Chi and Qigong, but that's not really medicine, which is one of the reasons the first questions I asked you is if Chinese medicine is practices or drugs. So, so let's say that I am going to go into a Chinese medicine doctor, or you, because you practice it.
That's what I am.
And you're diagnosing me with all these different things that is affecting the one system. So what would you tell me to do? Would you give me herbs, acupuncture, drugs? How would you treat me?
Good question. Our first 3 treatments, I would only do acupuncture, because I want to know what's what. I want to know how your symptoms and your body is responding to my acupuncture treatments. I'm a little bit different than other doctors of Chinese medicine this way, but I need to know what's what. After those 3 treatments, I would start, depending on what you need, we might start you on an herbal formula. We could, so many different things, Myrna. It's like, we could need to heal your gut. I trained in functional medicine too. I did a whole functional medicine training program. So I'm certified to do so I can, look at the body that way too. We might need to heal your gut. We might need to do a slight detox. It's so many different things for each patient, but we would start with the acupuncture, then the herbs, perhaps other things, and also talk about what people are eating, what their activities are, how are their sleep patterns, how are their stress levels, because all of these other things also affect your health on a deep level.
Right, right.
So the reason that I got so interested in stress was because patients would come into my office, and I saw, after years of observation, that most of their ailments were either caused by or rooted in stress. And I knew that if we didn't figure out a real way to eliminate the stress and anxiety, nobody would ever truly be happy or healthy. Because as you said, very intelligently at the beginning of this show, stress is a killer.
Yeah.
It can, and it definitely exacerbates so many of our issues. And one of the stresses in the body is also digestive stress. So it's not just stress from our mind. They call our digestive system our second brain. So we've got all of these different ways.
Actually, one of my guests that I think I'm reading Dr. Mark Harmon's book now, and he's calling it the first brain. But anyway, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You could call it either one. It's definitely
either one, right. Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of our most intelligent systems in our body,
Yeah.
and it affects our health on one of the greatest levels. I think they're neck and neck for me, because in my world, because the energy and the balance is so important in the picture to me, and what I've seen with my patients over a couple of decades, is that emotions and our thoughts affect our body and our energy more than anything else.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's where I come from on that. And I think both are extremely important.
Have you been trying to lose weight for some time, but can't lose a pound, even though you felt like you've tried everything? There's a term for that. You're weight loss resistant. And the only way to know when you're weight loss resistant, what is the cause, is if you have something called a continuous glucose monitor. Because a continuous glucose monitor monitors your blood sugar levels in real time after you had a meal. So when I heard about NutriSense continuous glucose monitor, I had to give it a try. I've been using my CGM for about a month, and the pounds have started to fall off. All I do is scan after every meal, and voila, I see immediately in real time what my glucose levels are after that meal. And it's going to spike. But the thing is that you want it to come right back down, because you don't want it lingering in your blood. So right now, NutriSense is offering my listeners, and those of you watching on YouTube, $50 off your first month. all you need to do is head over to www.nutrisense.io and use code MYRNAPW. That is NUTRISENSE.io, and the code is MYRNAPW. And get back to great metabolic health. Oh yeah, well, whether it flips by 1 or 2, it's important. It doesn't really matter.
Well, that's right.
Point, right? Whether the brain is the first and the digestive system the second, or the digestion is the first and the brain is the second. We both know that they're very important, and you're right. It's probably better to put them equally. Now, I'm spending a lot of time in the gut recently. You know, I've in fact, there's my last 3 books that I've read all talk about the gut. And what I'm understanding about the gut is that your why do I can't speak today?
Microbiome.
Mitochondria.
Oh, your mitochondria
runs the show, right? The mitochondria, right? Runs the show because it's what's digesting the food, it's what creating energy, and that's what runs the show. So you're right, you know, that's why they're calling it the first brain and not the second brain. But yeah, and stress affects, you feel it in your gut, you know that it's in there. So all right, so let's talk about minimizing the stress now. So you know, even, you know, I keep going back to my sister. You know, my sister's had a stressful life, and I tell her, I says, listen, you yeah, the stress in your life is what created this condition that you've got here right now. And in a couple of days, I'm going to be interviewing a doctor that wrote the book about turning off stress and turning off cancer pain by reducing the stress. Like, for instance, he's saying that, you know, you can have cancer pain because of unresolved issues. And if you tell your subconscious that it's resolved and the stress goes down, then the pain of the cancer goes down. So that would be an interesting conversation. He sent me a copy of his book, so I started reading it. But yeah, so let's talk about what stress does to the body and how it contributes to cancer, a lot of chronic illnesses, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think cancer is a very tricky topic, because cancer is its own thing. In fact, in my world, it's against my license to even say that I treat cancer.
Really?
So, but
I think, do you agree that cancer is caused by stressful lifestyle?
Well, I mean, sure, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, I do think I think that stress exacerbates that situation. I think it's also about, you know, choices they've made for their exercise, for their diet, for if they had to take any prescription medications that were toxic to their body, if they lived near anywhere that was toxic to their body. True. You know, there are so many different things that can weigh into this equation. And yes, stress is definitely one of them. And I think an important thing for people to know is to keep an eye on your stress and to kind of snag it and lower it before these bad things start happening. This cascade of worse symptoms starts happening. And if you want to talk about a few of those, I'd be happy to touch on that, because I think it'll really help people. And then I would love to give you a breathing exercise for your sister, but for everybody else, that actually activates your parasympathetic or calm nervous system on the spot. And that can be very, very helpful when you're trying to battle with stress. And, you know, cancer treatment is inherently stressful. Even that diagnosis is inherently stressful.
Right. So, all right. So, yeah. So, everybody thinks that they have to live with stress, right? Because life. So you just said that people need to catch it before it turns into a chronic illness. How do you?
Yeah, because here's what I say. Sure, there are stressful things, but it's not about the events. It's about our reactions to them.
Okay.
That's what causes the big stress in our lives. It's the negative emotions that are triggered because of our interpretation and our stories about those stressful events. Can we just change those stories? Not really. It's very, very difficult to do. So my whole trajectory with treating stress is to reprogram and rewire your mind so that you default to the more positive reaction. You default to the more relaxed reaction than the stressed or the negative reaction. And I think people, after they've been through a really stressful time, can see the difference in that. It's like their mind can't even go to a place that's creative or calm, or this is just going to be okay. It's more of a catastrophizing situation. And that's all got to do with how your brain is programmed or wired or trained,
Yeah.
which we inadvertently do. But you can.
It's very true. And one of the, I don't remember where I got this comment from, but yeah, I told my sister the same thing. I said that she started, the really interesting thing is that about 20 years ago, she started me on this self-improvement journey that I'm on, right? I grabbed it and ran with it, and she started it and got involved in life and didn't do it. So what I said to her is a comment that I heard years ago that I always repeat when it's appropriate. And it's, you can't learn to swim when you're drowning. So yeah, I mean, I'm a meditator. I'm in the space. Transform Your Mind is the name of my show, and I know exactly that. And I've even worked this same method of transforming my mind in my relationship with my husband. I will tell you that my relationship with my husband got so much better when I changed the way I thought of a thing, which is a Dwayne Dyer statement. Change the way you think of a thing, and the thing you think of will change. So I know all that. But yeah, I mean, you can't wait until, you're in the muck or you're in the mud to start thinking about, I'm going to try to find peace, because now it's very hard to concentrate. Some people do it, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he has an event where people go and heal themselves from cancer just by becoming supernatural. So there's ways to do it, I guess, when you're in the mire with all the energy and all that. So yeah, so talk to someone that, I'm going to use the term ambush, because that was one of my conversations on the show, where you get hit by a life ambush. It could be the death of a loved one. It could be a diagnosis of a terminal illness. It could be a divorce. So you're in the mire of this stress, right? How do you change your thoughts on it? How do you teach them to change their thoughts on it?
Well, what I would say is, in those situations, it's not about changing your thoughts about what is hot and what is super stressful for you right now, because you're not going to have much luck with that. You're just sort of trying to trick your mind, and that never, ever, ever works.
Right.
So I am on this soapbox of train your mind to be more positive. How do you do that? You do exercises twice a day. You start with 3 minutes twice a day. You build up to 8 minutes twice a day. And it's like a workout routine. You build a more positive mind. You build a less stressed mind, so that when you are in these situations, it's less hot, it's less reactive. You have a choice. But if you haven't done something like this and you're going into it and you're already really stressed out, it's almost impossible to change your thoughts in those moments. And I know that there are people out there who would say, okay, well, I disagree with you, because this is what I teach. I teach people to reframe it. I teach people just to XYZ. And I disagree, because I have been in that spot. I have been in a spot where I almost lost my marriage. I actually did lose my company because I was so stressed out. I almost considered taking my own life. It was bad. And I get it. In those moments, I couldn't just think of happy, positive thoughts. I was negative, and I was, sort of like that Saturday Night Live character, Debbie Downer. I don't know if you remember her, but she was a character on Saturday Night Live, and everything anyone said to her, she would sort of turn into a negative thing. Like, oh, Debbie, do you want to come for dinner on Saturday? And she'd be like, yeah, but don't serve fish because my mercury levels are sky high. And then they do the wah, wah, you know, and I know, I thought that somebody was going to start following me around with the wah, wah music. I was, so I get it. And I had been teaching this to patients for years, and not in the structure that I learned actually really work, but I had been giving these techniques out to my patients for a long time. And I was too busy to worry about it. I was honestly just trying to help them reduce their stress. And that wasn't actually even my main focus. But when I was in that, I was almost losing my marriage. I said to myself, oh my God, it was embarrassing because I didn't even think about what I've been working on all these years until, I don't know. And maybe it's oh, I don't need this. I'm just making this for my patients. I could never need this. But the universe said, haha.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah.
And I used it, and it really, really worked. And then I saw it in action, and I saw how your brain can actually rewire itself. It can reprogram itself. It's really interesting. So I'm going to teach you a breathing exercise that can help this process, because when you're in that parasympathetic state, so you have two states of your nervous system. Your parasympathetic is your rest and digest, and your sympathetic is the stress state. I just said that in case people are like, what the heck is she talking about? So the parasympathetic is the calm. So I'm going to take you through some steps. First step is take your left hand and put it on your lower belly. As you breathe in, I want you to feel that lower belly go out toward the opposite wall. When you breathe in this way, you are very strongly telling your body you're not going to run away from anything right now. Okay, there's no woolly mammoth. There is no bear. We do not need to fight any other tribe next door. Okay, because you can't breathe in that way when you run. Step number 2, I want you to put your right hand on your chest and you repeat to yourself, I'm safe. I'm not in a life or death situation right now. I'm safe. I'm not in a life or death situation right now. Step number 3, take your right finger and put it over your right nostril. You breathe in and out only through your left nostril. Breathing in and out only through your left nostril activates your calm or parasympathetic nervous system, and it calms you down faster. So the technique is you breathe in for 5, pause for 5, out for 5, pause for 5. And you breathe in this way until you feel yourself calm down. If you can't keep your finger on your nose the whole time, just alternate. Do a breath with both nostrils, then a breath with just the left one, and play around a little bit with it. Some people can't do the nose part because they have polyps or they have, deviated septum or something like that. That's okay. If you're breathing down deep, you are talking to your body through your body. And there is no better way to talk to your body.
Oh, that's amazing. I haven't heard that one, but sorry, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I do parts of that, but not all of it. I always breathe into my stomach, and I put my hand there to see the belly move out. Sadhguru in his book Inner Engineering talks about this nostril thing, and he calls it the key, but he never said it was flight or flight, and he didn't say it was calming down your sympathetic nerve. He was just saying it was the key to something. So here's the thing. Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but here's a distinction. A lot of practices teach alternate breathing.
Yeah,
this is not the same thing. This is not the same thing. Okay. If you breathe in and out, studies have shown, if you breathe in and out only through your right nostril, it activates your sympathetic. It gets you riled up. It gets you going. The left side is the calm, the parasympathetic. So if you do alternate breathing, sure, that's a little bit more balanced. And if you're the Dalai Lama, hang out and do that all day long. If your brain isn't too stressed, you go for it. That's what I tell people, right?
Mhm.
If you just need more balance, great. But if your brain is out of balance, well, we want to strengthen that parasympathetic, that calm side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm in the space of the parasympathetic, like I'm a meditator and I go for the relaxation and all that. In fact, I'm taking a class right now on exercises to strengthen the parasympathetic. And one of the things I learned from her is to breathe from the side. Nobody's ever taught that. If you heard that, instead of breathing to the front, like you just talked about, then you breathe to your side. Do you know about that
Sure.
one?
I mean, I could see how that works because
Yeah,
basically, even when you breathe down deep, what you're
yeah,
trying to do is expand your diaphragm. And a
right.
lot of
So,
people feel the expansion of their diaphragm easier on the
mhm,
sides than they
okay.
do down deep.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's basically, so that was something I had to learn because I've never tried to breathe to my side. I always breathe belly breathing, right? So that's good. And yeah, I will definitely work on holding my right nostril and breathing through my left. Right. So the first one was um left hand on the stomach. The second one was right hand on the chest. And then the third one was breathing through the nose, right?
yep. And then you do counts of 5.
Right,
So
right. The box breath. Right.
I
Yes.
call it
I do
high
that all the
five
time too.
breathing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it high five breathing because you get a high five because you remember to breathe this way when you're stressed, and all the counts are 5. So to help
Right.
people remember it. And if
Yes.
we want to do another little tricky, I do pick your nose the right way for stress because it looks a little bit like you're picking your nose and you're on the right nostril. So it's the right way.
Right. 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 Right.
Just,
That's
I
awesome. I
always have
love
to
it.
give my patients ways to remember things that I teach them. So they like silly stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, parasympathetic is very, very, very important. Very, very important. And
Well,
I
it's
and I
where
stay in
it's
that space. Yeah. Mhm.
That's right. It's where we're supposed to be living. We were
Yes.
never built to live in the stress response. I mean, it was meant for few and far occurrences, few and far between,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
every
Yeah. I
day,
know. And
never every day.
a lot of people live there. They never turn it off. They never turn it off. And yeah, and if you do, then they're going to come get you because yes, your body is responding. I was thinking when you were talking and I'm smiling because it's really interesting. I was doing a meditation where they were teaching you to it's a hypnotherapy, and it's saying, it was telling me to let my subconscious move my finger and see thoughts, and your body responds. And in the middle of that, I was having some kind of dream, and I dreamt about a cockroach, and my body responded immediately. I noticed it.
That's
And
funny.
so listen, if we are trying to tell people that their body responds to their thoughts, your body responds to your thoughts. You would believe it. My whole body turned warm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, your thoughts are the dictators of your emotions, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and your body responds. And people don't understand that every thought, and they're saying that if you're gonna have a bad thought, then you can switch it around to a good one. Because regardless if it's bad or good, your body responds to it. And that's the fight and flight stuff.
And so
Right.
does your brain, Myrna. That is
Yeah.
such an important point that people also don't realize.
Mhm.
So does your mind. Your mind is wired with every single positive or negative thought that you have. Science has proven this.
Yes, I know, I know. And like I said, when I'm doing the hypnotherapy, that's what they're teaching you, the hypnotherapy meditation. All right, so we spent a lot of time on the negative stress, but you also teach how to maximize happiness. So let's go there right now. I mean, is it a byproduct, or is it something you have to do directly to maximize happiness?
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you my tools maximize your happiness, right? Because that's what they're made for. They reduce the stress and they maximize the happiness. So let me give you a tool, okay?
Mhm.
All right. I want you to, and you can't do this right now, but you can do this later. So I want you to gather pictures that make you feel positive emotions, whether it's happy, whether it's peaceful, whether it's joyful. They ignite the positive parts of your brain. I want you to be careful though. If you go through your phone, because you can do your own pictures, and you find any picture that someone's in the background who gets on your last nerve, or they're in your doghouse, something like this, they cannot be in. Okay, because that will ignite the stress and that will ignite the negativity. So keep it really positive. Okay. So you gather these pictures and you make an album. It sounds complicated. It is not. You can easily do it on your computer, on your phone, or even get physical pictures from magazines and things like that. You set a timer for 3 minutes and you go through those pictures feeling strongly all of those positive emotions. What does that do? It strengthens the positive parts of your brain. Why is that better than changing your thoughts in the moment? A, most of the time, that's almost impossible to do. And B, if you are on the topic that stresses you out, the topic stresses you out. So trying to think, oh no, I got a cancer diagnosis, but I know that it's not a big deal, or I know that I should be okay. No, it's okay to be stressed about that. And you know what? Set aside 15 minutes of your day to be really, really stressed about that and put it in that container. Because that can help too.
I love that. I'm gonna make an album for my sister. I love that. But you know something? I've heard about the pictures before, and again, there is one movie that I love. Like I take quotes from movies and books and whatever, and I use them in my life. And one of the quotes from a movie that I always remember is in The Punisher. At the end of the movie, he was, The Punisher is a movie where this guy was at a reunion and people came in and killed all his family, his mother, father, wife, children, and everything. And then he went back to kill them all and take revenge. And at the very end of the movie, this woman tells him that memories can save your life. And I've always worked on that assumption that when you look back through good memories and beautiful things, it actually does exactly what you talk about. Strengthens your positive, you smile, you get the energy. And also when in Swanshay or however you say that word, they tell you to put positive pictures in your home, and it increases your energy. So yeah, that is good. But I've never, again, these are little parts, but you're putting it into a streamline.
Well, yeah, I mean, all
right.
of my techniques are scientifically proven, which is why they're so awesome. Like,
Right.
just like that breath technique I just taught you is scientifically proven. I didn't make up the fact that you breathe in and out through your, you know what I mean? And I also didn't make up the fact that positive pictures actually build the positive neural pathways in your mind, but people don't do it in that sort of a confined situation on a regular basis, 3-minute timer. Do you know what I mean? And
So
that's what it
every day. Is that what you're saying?
I would do 3 minutes twice a day. And that's where you start. That's where I start in the book. And this is called Happy Sparks. It's the first tool in the book. So you start 3 minutes twice a day. Okay. And then you build up with other things. And then at the end, you decide.
Is it memories, people that you know? Or like me, I would look at a picture of a beach on a beautiful island or something. What are the pictures? Does it matter?
Good question. No, as long as there is no possible way that picture can spark anything negative or stressful. Does that make sense? So let's say I had a really great Christmas 2 years ago. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Everybody was over, great Christmas, but Uncle Edward spilled wine, red wine, all over my couch. He did not apologize. He did not offer to pay for it. I had to get him an Uber home. He was so drunk. Okay. So I pull up my pictures of my Christmas, right? And I find the couch sets me off a little bit. And so does a picture of Uncle Edward. Well, they got to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't have an Uncle Edward, so I didn't just throw him under the bus or anything.
No, but yeah, that is good. That is good. Yes, or we can talk about, pictures with your ex-husband and your kids. You just cut him out.
Oh gosh, I love that you just said that, because here's the thing. So many people use shoulds in this. Oh, I should be over it. This shouldn't bother me. That BS in this process. If it ignites anything negative, leave it out for now, because what's going to happen is, if it does, those pathways are so much stronger in the beginning of these exercises, they take over. And so then your session is just completely derailed by these thoughts. And now you've built the negative parts of your brain. You didn't want to do that. You want to build the positive ones.
Positive ones. Right.
Make sense?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So yeah, this is pretty good. All right. So let's talk about your book now. Your book is called The Comm Code, Transform Your Mind, Change Your Life. So why did you write it? And what do you want readers to walk away with after reading?
Good questions. I wrote it because it saved my marriage and it changed my life. So I wanted to get it into as many people's hands as possible, because I watched and saw how much it helped me. And I saw it help my patients over the years. But, you're talking to people and like, oh yeah, I love this. This is great. But you're like, are they lying to me because they like me? I don't know. So when I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, this actually really works. And the 10 years of research that I did on all this stuff sort of paid off. So I put it together in a step-by-step process. And at the end of it, I want people to walk away with tools they can use for their life to strengthen the calm and happy parts of their brain and make themselves a calmer and happier person.
Right. Yes. And do you talk a lot in there about the Chinese medicine part of it?
The only Chinese medicine part of this technique is actually the root cause. And if I can give you a little bit of analogy of how this works in the mind, because people sometimes neuroplasticity and the root cause, and people are like, what is she talking about? I have no, and they just sort of check out. So I want to give you a quick analogy. Okay. Myrna, you just got a new job. You are working at the airlines and you are in charge of scheduling their flights. Okay. So your boss comes in. He's like, Myrna, I have no idea what's happening, but everyone is going to CalmTown. Everyone. Right. And he says, you have to change all of the flight patterns and their connections so that all of these people, who in our analogy are your thoughts, can get to CalmTown. Right. Then he comes in 3 weeks later and he says, something else is happening. Everybody's going to Stressville. Stressville is so popular right now. So what you have to do is you have to create new flight patterns and connections. Those are the synapses between your neurons, your brain cells, to get to Stressville. And then what else happens? Those pathways and connections to CalmTown aren't used anymore. So they go away. It is exactly how this works in your brain. Does that make sense?
I love it. That was actually good. I got it. I love that. Yes, especially when you're talking about flight and connections. That's really good. Right. So that means, right. So your book is building the connections to CalmTown and minimizing the connection to Stressdown. They're probably still there, but if they're not being used, the grass is going to grow over them.
That's right. Science has proven that the grass does grow over them. However, you're making a really good point, because if you start those thought patterns again down those same pathways, they can reignite and come back, right? It's sort of like if you go on a hiking trail and it's overgrown at the beginning,
right?
Yeah, and you make the trail and then you don't go back for 6 months. You have to remake the trail again.
Remake the trail. Wow. Yeah. Right. Listen, this is important stuff, because like I said, I recognized in my own life, mainly because I'm soaked in it. I have the show, and this is my lifestyle. And I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly reading, and I'm constantly meditating, and I'm constantly trying to make sure that I learned a new word recently, that my health span is as long as my lifespan.
Yes, I love
You
that.
like that, right? Yes,
Yes, I
right.
haven't heard
So
that. I love that.
you like that, right? Yes, I learned that.
Love it.
So, and that's basically what you know, why I do it. But yes, and your responses and everything when you live in Calm Town, your responses, like when somebody is you're angry and stuff like that, it doesn't come up as often because you're living in Calm Town. When you're in Stress Town, everything bothers you. You're blowing up every 5 minutes and all that, and you're keeping there. So yes,
You nailed it.
I love it.
It's
I love it, and I've never this is new information to me that you can build those paths. I
thank
mean,
you.
I stay in the parasympathetic because I understand that, you know, relaxation helps you, but I didn't know about the building the flight connections. So that's good. So yeah, I'll definitely get a copy of your book so that I can learn your tools. So thank you very much.
Meditation is one of them. Already got that nailed. So good job.
Yeah, meditation it's a must for so many things because relaxation is the first step, right? And that's where I'm at,
It
right?
is. And do you
Relaxation.
know what, Myrna? A lot of people think that meditation is sitting and emptying your mind, but it's not always that. And with my patients, I always told them to start with guided meditation
Oh, that's
because
right.
guided meditation in studies has been shown to affect the brain the same way. So if somebody feels like, oh, I have a hard time concentrating, which of course we do because our brains are wired to do 850, 600 things every second,
Yeah.
then it just helps you focus. It just helps you come back. Is your mind going to wander? Yes. When you start meditating, your mind is like a little puppy that you're teaching to sit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I love guided meditations. At one
I
point
do
in
too.
time, I was sitting in my meditation cushion and trying to do it on my own, but now I just go back to the guided meditation because it works for me.
Me too. I love it
Yeah.
too. I think there's a place for all of it. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that
Yes.
you're doing it.
All right. So how can listeners connect with you? Tell us where we can get a copy of your book, your website, your social media handles.
My book is on Audible, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble. You can check your local bookstore. If they don't have it, bug them to get it for you. And my website is Dr. spelled out Doctor Annie, ANNIE white.com. And those are all my social media handles too. I'm on the Instagram and the Facebook. I know I'm dating myself. I'm 52 years old. So the YouTube, I have some TikToks on there, but not a lot. And I'm starting a new program in September called Supercharge Your Fertility, because with my fertility patients, what I find is stress, both physical stress and mental stress, are stopping them from getting pregnant. So yeah, my program teaches them not only how to reprogram and rewire their minds to be more positive and calm, but also what to eat, when exactly to do the sexy time, all the different things that really help people conceive faster.
Okay. That's amazing. Send me the link to that because this will probably air after September. So send me the link to that. And I have a friend right now that's going through fertility treatments and issues. So I will get her on your program.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it can definitely, if she's doing assisted, it can definitely help
Yep.
Yeah.
So
The outcomes.
That's great. All right, Dr. Annie, this was an excellent conversation. Learned so much, which is why I do the show. Constantly learning, my school life here. So thank you so much for talking to us about, you know, how we can minimize stress and maximize our happiness. Like you said, it's a byproduct. You work on one and the other one comes. And I love the couple of tools that you shared with the audience. You guys go ahead and get a copy of Dr. Annie's book, Can't Hurt. I consume most of my books on Audible, so I'll definitely listen to your book on Audible. And yeah, because knowledge is power. And I started off by saying that, my sister was just diagnosed with cancer. And these are some of the things that happens when we don't pay attention to trauma, pay attention to stress, pay attention to negative thoughts, pay attention to negative frequencies. All that stuff affects everything in your body. So I hope today that Dr. Annie and I expanded your consciousness on the correct way to do it. So as we wrap up, Dr. Annie, any last words?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me because I had a great time. But I also really wanted to thank you for your podcast, because your podcast is focused on helping people every single day. Every single episode is something amazing that people can add to their lives or investigate or learn about, which is so fabulous and so important and so wonderful. And I also wanted to say, I'm sorry about your sister's diagnosis. I didn't get to say that earlier. And I hope everything, goes well with her and that she has a great recovery.
Yeah, we're all praying. Prayer works. Yeah, we're all praying. And I said to her, listen, you're gonna get through this. And after you get through this, I'm gonna be your coach, because you got to do some things differently so that it won't come back. Because that's
A
what
little
cancer
bit of a
does.
wake up call.
Yes.
Bit of a wake up call.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what I told her. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind, Transform Your Life. Amazingly, that's basically what the subtitle of Dr. Annie White's book is: Comm Code, Transform Your Mind, Change Your Life. So perfect guest, perfect conversation. If you're listening to this on iTunes, we'd love for you to rate and review. Thank you, Dr. Annie, for recognizing my work. That's why I do it. I want you guys to live your best life now. And we got a new word in today: expand your health span, so that if you want to live up to an old life, that you're not living in a bed somewhere, or can't walk and can't move and do all these different things. So that is my purpose. That is my mission. And so if you're listening to this on iTunes, we'd love for you to rate and review the show so we can reach a wider audience. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Annie, for being on the show. Until next time, namaste.